The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
Bronxnet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Hello and welcome to the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your guest host, Sylvia Anglin, filling in for Daren Jaime, and of course, you're watching the one and only interactive talk show bringing the best of the Bronx and the world right to you. First up is a staple of Arthur Avenue, who is taking cuisine and fusing it with healthier dishes. Plus, in our legal corner, we'll discuss the rights of professional athletes and their public image. And Emmy Award-winning producer Mario Rosales discusses his latest politically charged project. And of course, Montefiore is introducing a new program that will not only educate Bronxites on organ donation, but also increase the number of organ donors. Finally, one Bronx man has constructed his very own tribute to the lives lost on September 11th, and he's here to speak with us why he decided to construct this memorial site. So stay tuned, all this and much more is headed your way because we are now officially open. Hello, Bronxites. I'm your host, Sylvia Anglin, and today is Wednesday, September 14th. You're watching Open, the one and only live and interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York straight to your TV set. Feel free to give us a call at 718-960-7241 or send an email to open@bronxnet.org. We're also here to let you know that you can hit us up on Facebook by searching under Open Bronxnet Television, and visit us on Twitter and follow us at Bronxnet TV. When New Yorkers and especially Bronxites think of Arthur Avenue, they think of Italian culture, including music, family history, and of course, amazing Italian cuisine. Ann and Tony's restaurant is no exception. Having been a staple on Arthur Avenue since 1927, Ann and Tony's is known for both its classic and new dishes. Our first guest this morning is the current owner, and his goal is to introduce the food his grandmother cooked, and now we can have these foods in a healthier lifestyle. Welcome to the set, Ralph Napolitano.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Can you tell me about the history of Ann and Tony's on Arthur Avenue?
Oh, most definitely. Started in 1927 by our great-grandfather Eugenio, who came over from Italy, southern Italy, and he had a dream to come to America, open his restaurant, cook his great food for the community that he was living in around Arthur Avenue. And he did it, and it's almost 85 years later, and we're still there. Worked there as a kid, been there my whole life with my brother, my parents, my grandmother Ann, who was the main chef for a very long time. And it's really, it amazes me that we've been there for so long. I still step back and go, wow, we've been here for 85 years, and it's really a nice thing, and of course it's all about the food. So
I was going to say, your grandfather came over from
great-grandfather
came over from Italy. Can you tell me what kind of cuisine does Ann and Tony's?
Well, you know, it's kind of dual. It's some traditional Southern Italian cooking, and it's also Italian American cooking as well. A lot of traditional dishes of Italian American cuisine as well. So it's a combination of that.
So it's not more northern, southern?
No, it's more southern, but
okay.
It's also a combination of the southern Italian cuisine and Italian American cuisine, meaning stuff like the big pasta dishes with the cheeses and the fried chicken cutlets and things like that. So that's more of an Italian American tradition. So we combine both. So because we've been here for so long and we've used those dishes of classic Italian American to also on the menu to.
So as a restaurant owner, you're also, not only are you a restaurant owner, you're also a nutritionist.
Right. Well, I'm a chiropractor and a certified clinical nutritionist, a holistic health counselor. And I've been in practice for over 10 years. But I've been studying nutrition for probably 20. You know, I've always had an interest in what makes people healthy, what drives your health and what is right. Because even when I was a kid, before I discovered chiropractic, medicine to just be healthy didn't seem right. There's a place for the medicine when you're very sick and you have disease. But to be healthy, it just didn't fit. So I started studying nutrition, and I kind of found the road to chiropractic. And people know me as in two different lives. It's funny, I live these separate lives where people know me as the doctor, and then they know me as the guy, the owner, or the waiter, or the maitre d' at the restaurant. So it's kind of funny how those two lives combine.
But it's interesting that you're not only a restaurant owner, but you're a nutritionist.
Right.
So how does that incorporate itself into the dishes that you serve at the restaurant?
Well, to be honest, you know, it doesn't really translate into the restaurant. We don't really have a healthy food menu, like you said, diet menu that you go into restaurants and you see. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the dishes are very healthful because it's based, the Mediterranean diet, okay, which got prominence in the early 90s here in the States, and most of the dishes that are on the menu already fit inside that category. It's funny because some people come into the restaurant and they start looking at different items on the menu, and then I hear them as I don't know how many points that is, they're on Weight Watchers or something, and I'm like, points? I'm like, oh, come on. And what I start doing is I go, well, then maybe you should try this, and this, have that. Because they wind up wanting to have like broiled chicken and broiled vegetables with nothing on it, and I'm like, oh, that's why you're gonna fail. You're not eating good food. It's bland. It tastes like cardboard. It's just not gonna work. It's not a good thing.
Can you tell me what exactly is a Mediterranean diet? Because I know
Right.
the Mediterranean encompasses a
Mm-hmm.
few different countries,
Right.
but there's staples that, translate
Right.
to each country.
Well, it's based on some scientific work by Dr. Ansel Keys, where he did a 7-country study. I think it was back in the 40s and 50s, and he studied the people who live in that Mediterranean region. But the diet kind of based itself really on Greece and southern Italy, where he found the healthiest people in that area had that food of their region, and they had lower rates of heart disease, cancer, just across the board. So there's a lot of scientific research behind the Mediterranean diet and lifestyle that proves to be good for people to reduce diabetes, cancer, heart disease, obesity. So it's really a great diet to follow.
A lot of times when people go into Italian restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
they get I know when I go in, I get overwhelmed by
Right.
the menu because I'm like, I kind of like that. I
Right.
want a little bit of that. It's so tasty.
Mm-hmm.
But can you let me know what, as a nutritionist, would you recommend if you walked into a restaurant? And I know you mentioned
Right.
people being on the point system. I'm on
Right.
a diet. I want a broiled piece of chicken and plain pasta. What can I eat if I went to a restaurant that is a balanced meal? I'm not packing on the calories and I'm not packing on the carbs. What can I eat when I just go out to an Italian restaurant?
Carbs, right there, what you mentioned. There's this myth and this mystery and there's this thing about carbohydrates that they're not good for us, that we're not supposed to eat them. That's impossible. Carbohydrates are the energy of the food, and it's going to energize your body, so you need carbohydrates. But it also breaks down to the quality and the quantity of the carbohydrate that you eat. So if you look at pasta, right? Traditionally, we look at pasta. Oh, I'm not going to eat pasta because it's very high in carbohydrates. It's also the quality of it. The white pasta that you get every day in the traditional Italian restaurant, or which you might cook at home, is probably not the best choice. Better choice would be a whole grain. Better choice would be a whole wheat pasta. The best choice would be a whole grain pasta.
Okay.
And you could walk into a lot of the stores today and they have whole grain pastas, which are very high in fiber, high in protein, and just overall have a better quality of nutrients inside of it, so it's good for you to eat, but you got to watch your portion control. That's the whole point. Usually you're going to have a nice little small portion of pasta, when traditionally, in America anyway, it used to be this big giant
I was going to say family style, and you
Right.
go into these restaurants, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a plate
Exactly.
of pasta
But that's
sauce.
not how it is in southern Italy. It's usually a little bit smaller.
Okay.
and the portion is a little smaller, and it's cooked very fresh. Everything it's about fresh ingredients, you know. But if you go into the restaurant, any restaurant, you should right away, don't look at any, get away from the fried foods if you can. Get away from anything heavy.
No fried calamari.
I just put a dent in there. But the fried calamari, look, again, everything is about portion control and moderation. So if you want to have some, you have a little bit of the fried calamari. Better choice would be to have calamari that's sautéed in a nice tomato sauce. Very simple. Instead of going after the the big heavy pasta with the Alfredo sauce, the heavy cream sauce, choose a pasta with a lot of mixed vegetables on it, because that's one of the staples of a Mediterranean diet. Mixed vegetables, grains, whole grains, fruits, smaller portions of meat, bigger portions of fish, and low-fat fish and things of that nature. So it's just a matter of the choices, that you make, and don't forget the red wine. The red wine is very good. A lot of health benefits in red wine, but again in moderation. You could actually get the same health benefits in a glass of grape juice as you can in a glass of red wine. But to me, I think a red wine is a lot more fun.
So if we went into Ann and Tony's, it'd probably be best to take like a fish course.
Most definitely.
Fish course with a light pasta with some fresh tossed vegetables.
Salad, vegetables without a doubt. Look for especially the green leafy vegetables, a lot better. Broccoli is good. Kale is also a very good vegetable. There's so many different things you could eat with a Mediterranean diet. And that's what I've done. I've actually put together a small little book that you could get for free online to just give you a primer about the Mediterranean diet, what it's about, and how you can, start incorporating it into your lifestyle. Because it's not a diet; it's really a lifestyle. That's why I don't think it's not as sensational as most of the other fad diets. You lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks, and everybody gets excited, and then they get depressed because it doesn't work.
So where can they find this manual?
Well, I put a little website together, drralphnapolitano.com, drralphnapolitano, I know it's long, .com. And you could go there, you can put your name and email address in. I got a little video too. And they could just download the book for free and just start incorporating it into your lifestyle. Again, Mediterranean diet is a lifestyle. It's not really a diet. It's about eating good quality food. It's about just, you got to cook a little bit more at home. I'm not the best cook in the world either, but you just got to cook good food, because that's where your health is going to start. It's not going to be found at the bottom of a vitamin bottle or a prescription bottle. It's got to start with the food that's on your plate, without a doubt. So just get the book, start incorporating into your lifestyle, and go for it.
Thank you, Ralph.
Don't be afraid.
See, there you have it. Don't be afraid.
Right.
Stay right there, because next, right after this break, we're bringing you so much more on Open. So,
Along with weight loss, it's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year, I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Find out how you can live united for education. Give, advocate, volunteer. Go to liveunited.org.
Do you wear this?
Be free. Nice, Dad. Nice, Dad. Nice.
Charles!
Nice, Dad.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
younger, we used to think, what we thought, of course, playing Madison Square Garden, that was it. That was the Mecca. You know, you can, and we played Madison Square Garden in '91, and that was it. But this is a totally different ball game.
Wednesday at Yankee Stadium is a celebration of this music, and for us Bronx guys, it's the ultimate celebration. You have to understand, diehard Yankee fans here, man. So it's a big deal. So I know we're gonna have a good time. So we want you to come out and have a good time.
Hello there and welcome back to Open. In our next segment, becoming a professional athlete is more than just signing that major contract, getting that endorsement deal, and becoming adored by fans around the world. It also means signing some of your rights away, including your likeness and name. But just how much of a pro athlete's image does the team own? Here now to give us more information and an understanding on this complex issue is attorney and legal correspondent David Lesh. Welcome back.
Nice to be here. Summer's over. I'm ready for the fall, which means I'm also ready for a new legal series. We're going to start our constitutional series this morning. And anytime we're dealing with a constitutional law issue, we're always talking about a balancing of rights, right? Usually balancing the rights of an individual against the balancing the rights of society. In today's segment, we're going to talk a little bit about publicity rights with respect to athletes, also with celebrities or anyone else who is not an athlete or a celebrity. And when you're dealing with these types of rights, you're balancing the right of a person to be able to use their own image, their signatures, their statistics, whatever it is that they've acquired to make money, balancing that against the public's right to use that information for their own newsworthy events. Not to make money, but because it's newsworthy. So that is going to be the balance that we're talking about here with respect to publicity rights. Right of an individual to keep their own name, to use their name to make money or to have nothing done at all with their name, against the public's right to be able to learn more about whatever it is you do. Even if it turns out that they are making some money through it, if it's a newsworthy event, you may not be able to prevent somebody from using your name or your likeness or your voice, and you may lose some publicity rights. Now, let's talk a little about the law. 30 states do have some type of law regarding your publicity rights. By statute, many states give you a right to use your own image, voice, whatever it is. Some don't do it by statute. Some actually follow the common law, which again gives you your publicity rights. Many states do not give you any publicity rights. I'm sure, as you can imagine, the state that does give you the greatest publicity rights, or one of the greatest, is California, because you're a celebrity. So they want to make sure that no one else is using your likeness or whatever it is that you've created as a celebrity. Nobody else wants you to use that and make money, right? Mm-hmm. So that's very important. In New York, interestingly, the issue as to whether or not your publicity rights continue after death is different than in California. In California, when you pass away, your publicity rights continue for another 70 years, meaning your estate can prevent somebody from using your pictures or anything that you've done to make money for at least 70 years. Right? In New York, when you pass away, your publicity rights end. And that's probably why maybe you see on the street people painting different pictures of celebrities and things and selling them and making money of that on these people who are no longer alive, whether it's Elvis or Marilyn Monroe. In New York, your publicity rights end, where again in California, they will keep going for at least another 70 years. These are state laws. Federally, there is no statute that protects you with respect to your own publicity and whether anybody can take it and use it to make money. There is an act, the Lanham Act, and that act prevents somebody from using whatever it is that you do and falsely advertising and thereby hurting your image. That's different than somebody going out and just making money off of your image. Okay. So that's a different whole ball of wax. And there has been a movement to try and force the federal government to institute some type of legislation which would protect you on a federal level, but it never seems to get enough steam. So right now there really is no federal statute that protects you with respect to your publicity rights. Let me give you a couple examples of some athletes, celebrities who do not have their courts have held do not have publicity rights in a particular situation. One that came into mind was Joe Montana when he was a quarterback in the Super Bowl. The newspaper had put in a separate spread of the upcoming game, and they used a picture of Joe Montana, and they sold it separately. The court held that the Super Bowl was a newsworthy event, and therefore Joe Montana did not have publicity rights with respect to that particular issue, and the newspaper was allowed to sell all the different papers, make money, and not give anything to Joe Montana because the Super Bowl was a newsworthy event. It's always a fine line. Tiger Woods, there was an example where somebody was painting a picture of him at the Masters, and then made copies of it and sold it. Well, the court held, the Masters was a newsworthy event of him playing golf at the Masters. He did not have to get paid for all the different posters that were being sold because he was there at a newsworthy event. You understand? Mm-hmm. So that's the distinction. Newsworthy event against publicity right of the individual.
So I know we're talking about pro athletes here. Can we discuss college athletes? Because a lot of times the colleges use the images of, the Cam Newtons of the world to pitch the games, to sell the games. They use those images.
Well, again, those are newsworthy events.
Okay.
When you're playing on Sunday in front of thousands and thousands of people, it's a newsworthy event. They can take pictures and show them and put them in the yearbooks and put them in different places because it's an event that everybody wants to see. Now, if they were marketing just him on a T-shirt or pictures of just him and selling just that, not the game, but just his face, and they were making money, the college was making money on that, that might be different. Now, of course, you can always sell your publicity rights. You could sell your right for somebody else to be able to do this. You couldn't do it in college because you can't sell you're an amateur status, but a celebrity can sell their own publicity rights. And many times on the opposite end, the company that hires you and can use your publicity will put in what's called a moral clause, saying that if you do something that we consider to be immoral or hurt your image, we can terminate the contract. So we have the right to your publicity, but if you do something to jeopardize your own publicity, well then we can terminate the contract.
So similar with what happened with Kobe Bryant when the allegations came out of a couple years back on
with the woman. Yes, exactly. That would be a way that many of these companies or corporations that he was pitching products for could let him go because he violated his morals clause. And most athletes have a morals clause. They sell their right to the publicity. But what we're really talking about here is when some people use your own publicity without a contract. And that's really what it comes down to as well. They always argue, well, hey, look, this is for the public. I want the public to see the Kardashians. I want to take pictures and I want to put this out there so we can see what they're doing. It's publicity, yes, and it's their picture. But on the other hand, they're walking around, the neighborhood and it's in public. Yes, it's a picture of them. And yes, I'm making money in my magazine by putting a picture of them, but it's in the public and it's a newsworthy event. You understand? So that would be different. One example of a non-athlete, non-celebrity was a young lady who was under 18. I think she was either smoking cigarettes or doing something that she shouldn't have been doing under the age of 18. And a magazine put her on the cover with a story of this is the problem with today's youth type of thing. She brought an action, or her mother brought an action on her behalf, and the court said no. The court said this is a newsworthy issue, whether or not children should be doing things that are under the age of 18. So no, we don't have to pay you. Because it was in public. The picture was taken in public. We do not have to pay, you do not have to pay the child for the use of her image in this particular magazine, or you can't prevent them from using it. So these are newsworthy events, and it's always the issue with constitutional law, the balancing of the rights of the individual against the rights of society. In this case, it's the right of society to be able to see what's going on and to see what's newsworthy and see what's important.
So what should we expect with this series after we cover celebrity and athletes today? What should we expect to see next week?
Well, you're going to always see that you never really get a clear answer in constitutional law as to who really has the upper hand, the individual or the society rights and the balancing of power. Whether you're talking about the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, whatever it is, it's always going to be a balance. And that's why I think this particular series, and I'll also do some of these shows on my own show, Today's Verdict, as well. I think there's such interesting topics because that's what really law is about. It's not black or white, it's gray. And there's no better example of gray than constitutional law. So I'm excited.
Thank you, David.
It's my pleasure. I'll see you next week.
Stay tuned to find out how Montefiore Medical Center has launched a new initiative to increase the number of Bronx organ donors.
Did you know that getting up and getting active for just 60 minutes a day is all it takes to help you get stronger, look better, and feel great?
Or that fresh fruits and veggies aren't just healthier and crunchier, they can taste better too?
Eating better and getting more active is easier than you think.
Yeah! Keep watching for some fun and easy ways to discover the magic of healthy living in your life.
America.
Let's get healthy together!
There is also a very attractive extended warranty option that includes free service and parts for the next 5 years. But there's no need for you to get that. You failed to get the test you needed at the doctor that would have detected disease early enough where it could have been treated. So you won't be around in 2 years to see him grow up, which means the warranty would be useless. Okay, sign here, please.
For a list of tests every man should have, go to ahrq.gov.
When it's time for lunch, a sandwich is a quick and easy choice. And with the right ingredients,
50 seconds back.
And good for you. So I'm here today to see
a lot of information to cover here.
Yes.
Wow.
Incredible.
Ready, set, go! Okay, Jason starts out with a multi-grain roll. Ooh, Allison stuffing her pita with, yes, spinach. A great source of iron. Jason isn't skipping on the protein, adding plenty of smoked turkey, just like Allison's putting the finishing touches with crispy red bell peppers for a dose of vitamin A. Time! It looks like we have a tie. We'll need to call in our special guest referee.
Now these are what I call quick, delicious lunches. Whole grain breads, a whole variety of ingredients. There are so many different ways to build delicious, healthy sandwiches. These two get high marks in every category. I'd say you're both winners. America.
Let's get healthy together.
G-morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did. Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Montefiore Medical Center is one of the first hospitals in the country to create an organ and tissue donation initiative with the mission to increase the number of organ donors in the Bronx. They work with several Bronx community boards, faith groups, health centers, and schools to create a strong network of organ donors. On set to educate us on this new program and this initiative is the manager, Leo Trevino. Welcome to the set.
Thank you for having me here.
Can you explain to me what exactly is tissue and organ donations? I know a lot of times when people get licensed, they have that opportunity to sign the back of their license, in case of death, I'm okay with having my organs and tissue donated. Can you explain to me?
Absolutely.
What is it?
Yes, absolutely. Well, when we think of organ donation, organs are life-saving, whether it's donating a heart, liver, or kidney, or pancreas. These are life-saving, vital organs that are needed for transplantation. Tissue, on the other hand, cornea donation or bone donation might not save lives, but they do enhance lives. So while tissue enhances lives, organ donation, donating organs will save lives.
Okay, and I know at Montefiore, the hospital, there's a long waiting list for kidney transplants. Can you tell me generally how many Bronxites are sitting on this list currently? What's the number at Montefiore?
Yeah, well, the listing, the transplant waiting list,
okay,
throughout the country, there's a national waiting list, does not have people registered by where they're from or what their background is. It's just a very, anyone who's critically in need of a life-saving organ or tissue transplant will go on the waiting list. I can tell you that there's over 110,000 people throughout the country who are on the national transplant waiting list. And out of those 110,000, there's about 9,000 in the state of New York, of which about 7,000 are right here in the greater metropolitan area, of which about 900 are registered and listed at Montefiore Medical Center. And these are patients who are from the Bronx and other parts of the region, waiting for a heart, liver, kidney, or a pancreas transplant.
So as far as the national waiting list, just to educate our viewers and myself, when you get placed on that list, do you get placed on that list based on your priority number if you're critical, or is it just that you go at the bottom of the list because you were added to the list today, or is there a priority placement for people who are critical or nearing organ failure?
Absolutely. It's based on medical urgency. So that means if you've been on the waiting list for 6 months and I get on the waiting list 2 days ago and the doctors deem that I need that kidney or that liver urgently more than you do has been on the list for 6 months, I will receive that organ transplant. So it's based on medical urgency above all things. And then of course also other factors that go into play here are whether or not it's a perfect match in terms of blood type between the donor and the potential recipient. Height and weight are all taken into consideration before someone would be a candidate to receive a donor organ or tissue.
Wow. So this initiative, can you take me through the initiative that Montefiore is instituting for organ and tissue donations here in the Bronx? And I would suspect this is a larger initiative because obviously people are affected and this cross state lines, this cross county lines. Can you take me through the initiative?
Yes, absolutely. Several years back, we are a transplant center at Montefiore. We have a kidney program that's been around for about 35 years. We have a liver and heart program. And frankly, we're in what I think is a public health crisis when it comes to organ donation. We just don't have enough organs to go around to transplant everyone on the waiting list. So several years back at Montefiore, we saw the great need not only to promote transplantation, and as miraculous as transplantation is, if you really think about it, transplantation isn't all that miraculous if someone does not make a decision to becoming an organ or tissue donor. And so the real miracle, I believe, is in those who are registering, signing up to becoming organ and tissue donors. So we saw a great need not only in the Bronx, but throughout the New York City area that we needed to begin to promote organ and tissue donation. We needed to begin to educate our communities about the great need not only for transplantation, but also for organ and tissue donation. And this is why we started the Montefiore Organ and Tissue Donation Initiative, which is really Montefiore's testament to our commitment to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. And so we not only educate public health professionals about the need for organ and tissue donation, but we also go out into the community, and especially our communities who have so many myths and misconceptions about organ and tissue donation. And so the program really encompasses educating professionals within the medical field, but also going out into the community and creating awareness of the need for organ and tissue donation.
So what can Bronxites and our viewers at large do to help with the initiative, or just the little things that we can do in our day-to-day lives that can possibly help the organ and tissue donation? Because at the end of the day, we all at one point might be affected by someone or even ourselves with needing an organ or needing tissue donation. What should we do?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's a good question, but I think even a better question is, what are we in the healthcare profession doing to promote awareness among our community? And I think a show like Bronxnet is an excellent show where we are beginning to promote organ and tissue donation. I believe that as we educate the community, our community become our ambassadors to promoting organ and tissue donation. We talk about every other subject, but somehow when it comes to talking about organ and tissue donation, we tend to stay away from it, simply because in many ways we are not comfortable with our death. And because when we talk about organ and tissue donation, we're talking about at some point dying and making a decision to become an organ donor. So one of the things that we can do is Montefiore is open to receiving invites to go into the community, whether it's houses of worship, whether it's community boards, whether it's healthcare fairs where we come and we educate our community about the dire need for organ and tissue donation. But the most important thing is that once people hear about organ and tissue donation, they need to sit down and have a discussion with the family about their wishes to become or not to become an organ and tissue donor. The number one reason why so many families say no to organ and tissue donation when they have that opportunity to donate organs of a loved one who is dead is simply because we never talked about it. You know, Joey was a kind person, he was a giving person, but unfortunately he never talked about organ and tissue donation. And as much as we know that it's important and it's needed, we can make a decision not knowing what his decisions or his wishes were. So I really encourage folk to go out, talk to your family members about your decision to becoming an organ and tissue donor.
So if someone at home is interested in reaching out to the initiative, or either a school or wherever is interested in finding out more about the initiative and bringing someone in to talk to people about the initiative, yes, where can they reach out to you at?
Sure. Well, I'm at Montefiore Medical Center, and they can reach me at 718-798-4285. I will personally answer the call and make arrangements to come and visit them and do an organ donation seminar or a workshop or talk about the need for organ and tissue donation. But also throughout the state of New York, we have what they call the New York State Donate Life Registry. People can now register to become organ and tissue donors. In the past, people have carried a donor card as an expression that they want to be an organ and tissue donor. But the donor card is only your intent to become an organ donor. And that intent can be overruled by a family member if you were to become an organ and tissue donor. If you're on the registry, and the registry is a confidential database that's administered by the Department of Health here in the state of New York, is one of consent. Once you sign in the registry, there is no one that can overrule your decision to become an organ and tissue donor. So I really encourage people to go on the website. They can go to www.nyhealth.gov/donatelife. There they can register on the registry to become an organ donor. Or again, they can call my office at 718-798-4285, and I will be more than happy to send them the enrollment form where they can register to become an organ donor.
Thank you.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me here.
So education and awareness is key to helping with this initiative. Coming up, a film that tells a story of a political repression through the eyes of a graffiti artist.
Hello, I'm Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. And on behalf of the 1.4 million Bronxites, we are so happy and we want to welcome the Big Four here on September 14th at their great Yankee Stadium. The Bronx is also the home of heavy metal. We're particularly excited because we also have band members from Anthrax who are coming back home to the Bronx, being that they were raised here.
Growing up in the Bronx, diehard Yankee fan, bringing the Yankees into it, it was music and baseball, honestly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
When we were younger, we used to think, well, we thought was playing Madison Square Garden. That was it. That was the Mecca. You know, you can, and we played Madison Square Garden in '91, and that was it. But this is a totally different ball game.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming because it's such a big thing, and I'm dying to just run on the field. I know I'll get arrested.
Stems from the Bronx as being the way we grew up. The whole thing, it really is all one. It all adds up to that, and that's where this music is. You know, for us, that's where it's a drive, man. It's a drive, and I think that the Bronx instilled that. Being from the Bronx instilled that in us.
I think someone's gonna pinch us and be like, "Wake up! It's not happening."
There's no two records that sound alike, and
You know, this new record is no exception. It's Anthrax on the next level, yet again.
Now therefore I, Ruben Diaz Jr., President of the Great Borough of the Bronx, do hereby proclaim today, September 14, 2011, Anthrax Day, right here in the Bronx.
Remember, this is a live interactive talk show, so join us in the conversation by 960-7241 or send us an email at open@bronxnet.org. In his latest project, El Regreso de Lencho, otherwise translated into the return of Lencho, Emmy Award-winning producer Mario Rosales opens our eyes to a political repression taking place in Guatemala. He tells a story through a point of view of a Guatemalan graffiti artist who uses artistic expression to bring social impact in the hopes of bringing about a new Guatemalan beginning. We are pleased to welcome Mario Rosales here to our set.
Hi.
Hi, Mario.
How are you?
So can you take us through, I'm very well aware of the Guatemalan situation because I'm Central American myself, but can you take us through what was the 30 years of terror that this movie, that precedes this movie and sets the background for this movie?
Yeah, Guatemala had a civil war that was from the end of the 60s till 1997. But after 1997, actually, there has been a lot of violence, just as much as during the Civil War. So, and right now, I think it's like a jump back to the 70s, all the violence that is happening. And so the movie is about how is the situation in Guatemala right now. And during the Civil War, all the violence was towards the guerrilla movements. But right now, there's not any more guerrilla. So a lot of the violence is targeted now to youth. So, and especially people that are expressing themselves. So artists, musicians, graffiti writers, actors. So the movie is about that. And I happen to know people that has been killed recently by the police. And it's like all the violence that was during the Civil War that is very strategic, very military, is the same thing that is happening right now. All the repression that is happening right now has all these military techniques.
Why has there been a shift from, I know in the past there was guerrilla warfare. Why has there been a shift to targeting people who are the creative types, who are the young thinkers, the minds of tomorrow? Why is that?
Well, I think it's because what they're doing is they don't want people to be expressing themselves. Anybody that raises issues about the situation in Guatemala, the economic situation is really bad. So anybody that is expressing themselves, like writing on the walls, something against the situation, something to bring attention to how bad the situation is in Guatemala, the approach is to annihilate these people.
So right now there's strife between, basically there's issues with social and economic justice in Guatemala, but this movie is helping to put a spotlight on the creative types, that have been targeted or that are being targeted. Can you take us through the regression of Lencho?
Well, I started doing all this research about cases that happened that youth was targeted. And I was doing all this research to start writing my script. I was about 8 months into doing research. I studied communication in Guatemala, so a lot of my classmates became journalists, so they work in newspapers. So I asked some of them to send me information. And I was starting to write my script when one Sunday night, my mother called me from Guatemala with the news that my brother was not killed, but shot the night before in a town that is outside of Guatemala. And my brother, he's going to school right now. He's studying anthropology, so he's a student. Wow. And he was beat up by the police first for no reason. He was just walking down the street with a friend of his. 4 police guys came up, beat them up. After he was beat up, they started searching him for papers. And when they lift his pants, my brother has tattoos on his right leg. And immediately they accuse him of being a gang member.
Wow.
or being part of a gang, and they shoot him right there on the spot. They took him to jail. He spent overnight standing. And so after I heard that, and it was just that came and confirmed everything that I was researching for the past 8 months. So that
went into you developing the script and subsequently the movie.
Yeah.
Can you take us through the movie? What will we see?
Well, the movie is about, and it has a little bit autobiographical
elements, obviously.
The character is somebody that lived in New York and decides to go back to Guatemala and start creating art that has social impact. And so is what happens. Because also, after that happened to my brother, and also being here in New York, I started thinking what would happen if I go back to New York. So I started creating this fictional story.
Okay.
But then, you know, we shot the film at the end of 2008.
Okay.
And there's the smaller cast, member of the cast, when we shot the film, he was 16. And a year after we shot the film, he was killed by the police. So now the movie is dedicated to this guy. His name is Carlos Chacon. Carlos was 17 when he was killed by the police. He was shot 5 times. It was an execution. And so the movie, at the beginning, that happened to my brother, and this happened on the process of editing the film. So reality is like touching us all the time, letting us know that this is happening, you know.
It's real.
It's real, yeah.
Carlos, so Carlos is, what role did he have in the film?
He has, the main character is called Lencho. He's a 30-year-old graffiti artist, and so he's mentoring this young kid. He's teaching him about painting, about muralism, and in real life, Carlos was a graffiti artist. Okay. He was a b-boy. He was a rapper. He was a very talented person. He belonged to 2 collectives in Guatemala. One that is a collective that brings theater to the streets, and another collective that is a hip-hop collective.
Okay.
He actually was teaching b-boys in a school for 12-year-olds. He was 17. He was teaching 12-year-old kids b-boy, you know, breakdancing. And he was coming out of a workshop when he got shot outside of a school.
Wow. So this film helps to put a spotlight on the situation in Guatemala that is still like, even though this film is 3-4 years, was shot 3-4 years ago, it's still going on and it still perpetuates. So if anyone wants to take a look at this film, what do they need to do and where should they go?
Well, you know, it's an independent film that I live here in New York. I've been here for 10 years. Putting out an independent film it takes steps, you know. I was just in the New York Latino Film Festival.
Okay.
Right now, I'm organizing a tour of universities around the U.S. And from there, I'm expecting to open in theaters here in New York and hopefully then D.C. and then hopefully on L.A. and San Francisco.
Okay, so you're hoping to do a university tour. Will there be any stops in New York City so that our viewers and people in the city at large can take advantage of this film?
The tour in New York is going to happen around the end of October, beginning of November.
Okay.
And then the website of the film is the title of the film, El Regreso del Lencho. I'm going to be starting to post all the information about this tour.
Okay, perfect. So El Regreso del Lencho .com.
Yeah.
And people can go there and find out information where the tour is happening and where the film is being played.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And the best of luck with your journey.
Thanks.
There's still more on Open right after this. We'll be talking to a man who is remembering 9/11 from his very own backyard.
Underneath everything we are, underneath everything we do, we are all people, connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Now, Krista, make sure you stay with her the whole time. She's new to the country. This is her first day. This is a brand new country. It's a whole different culture.
Okay.
Now, make sure you stay with her the whole time. I'll be here right after school to pick you up.
Okay, Mom.
Okay, have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye. Ignore my mom.
She's so annoying. She's totally freaking out about this whole thing. She freaks out about everything. She always does that. Ignore my mom. So, you ready for your first day in the Wicked Castle of Doom? I mean, like, seriously, it's so boring. I don't know how they could put us through this, like, every single day. How many schools do you have in your village?
4, 3, 2.
Thank you.
None.
Hello and welcome back to Open. This past Monday, New York and the nation remembered those whose lives were lost in the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 tragedy. A memorial was unveiled that included the names of every person whose life was ended prematurely. But right here in the Bronx, one man honored those living or those lives with his very own memorial by building a replica of the Twin Towers in his own front yard. The creator, Matthew Galchik, is here to join us right now. Welcome to the set.
Thank you.
Can you tell me, I understand the tragedy, the lives lost, everything that goes into 9/11. Can you tell me what was your connection to 9/11 and making this sacrifice? You really put your own heart and energy into this memorial. Can you tell us what went into it?
A lot of people lost that day. People that were just going to work, people that were doing their everyday jobs, and for 10 years we've been hurting as a nation. Something was taken from us that day, and they've been talking about building something in Manhattan for such a long time, and the people needed something. They needed something more, like for the anniversary. So I said what I was going to do is I was going to build the Twin Towers and bring them back. Even just for a couple of weeks, I was going to bring them back, and I did.
I noticed in the backyard you have the Twin Towers, but also here on the set you have an iron cross that was pretty much forged from the steel from Ground Zero. Can you tell me, I understand as like a private citizen, this is the total dedication, this is a labor of love. Can you tell me, I understand how you feel and how we all feel about 9/11, but having that memorial here in the Bronx and bringing back the Twin Towers, how does it feel on the 10th anniversary?
I didn't know how to feel at first when I first built them. I didn't know how anybody would take them. I thought maybe they would just throw me out of the neighborhood. But as we dropped those towers in, they looked very impressive. The first one went in, and when the second one went in, everybody says, my God, he did it. He brought them back for us. And the people that were walking by says, this looks fantastic. And from that moment on, I felt great. I knew I did the right thing. I really did.
I've seen images of the towers. I haven't had an opportunity to stop by and take a look yet, but I've seen images of the replica towers that you created, and they are, very true to form. A lot of people don't actually remember, the World Trade Center as it stood before the 9/11 tragedy, but they were amazing towers, they were amazing buildings, and especially when with the loss and the tragedy, we all are trying to move forward 10 years later, but you have to remember the past in order to move forward. Can you tell me what does it mean and how long will you have this replica and this remembrance in your yard?
They're only going to be up for maybe another week and a half. I was going to bring them down yesterday.
Okay.
But the outpouring of support is phenomenal. I mean, I must have had 1,000 people pass by my house in the last 10 days. The greatest part is the young children. They've never seen them. They walk up to them, I let them touch it and feel it, and I say, this is what we had in Manhattan. This is actually it. You could read something in a book, you could watch it on TV, but to actually be there and feel it. And I've got grown men coming up to it and saying, this is what once was. This is what we had. And they walk away. I don't know how everybody feels. They thank me and thank me. I'll never know why they're thanking me, But I says, here's the people you have to thank. Those 343 firemen that ran into those buildings to try to save people. They knew that they had a chance of not coming out. And yet they went in. All the emergency medical people, the services, emergency services, they ran in there. They had wives and kids home. They had families. They gave their lives to save people. And when those towers came down, that affected so many people. I just wanted to bring them back one last time, if just for a little while, to bring some reflection for some people. And that's all I wanted to do.
Can you tell me how long did it take to construct the towers?
Yeah, about 2 months. I would do it after work, you know, come home and on weekends. And it was the middle of summer, man. It was hot. It was real hot. And all I kept thinking, as bad as it's getting here, as hot as it is, those people in those towers had it worse than I ever will. And I had to complete this. I had to finish it, and I did. And it's my gift to the people of the Bronx and to this country. Right now, those towers, that's something from the Bronx that the rest of the country can understand.
Can you tell me about this cross? How did you come or find steel from the towers?
Well, what happened, as soon as the towers went up, people were driving by like, oh my God, they're beautiful. And a friend of mine, I haven't seen him in years, says, I got something for you. And he dropped off this cross. This came from a girder from the trade center, you know, a beam, a steel beam. And what those guys did was they cut out a couple of crosses, and he says, Matt, I got something for you right here. And I put it right in front of those towers. So they have meaning. I mean, this came from Manhattan. This here's the exterior material. It's matting material. It's floor mats. That's all it is. I went to Home Depot and bought floor mats, painted them, and I drilled about 12,000 holes. This way the light shines out at night. And that's what I did. I dropped fluorescent lights into those towers, and at nighttime it's mesmerizing. It's hypnotic. You walk up to them and they just take control of you.
How tall do the towers stand?
They're 12 feet tall by 2 feet wide.
And you said they'll be up for the next week or so.
Yeah, and then after that, we want to donate them, actually. Jimmy Vaca's working on it with us. But they have to be kept inside because this stuff's only going to start to loosen up and fall apart, and we don't want that. We like to put them in a school or a museum or the botanical garden, somewhere that the people in the Bronx can always walk through and look at them, and people from all over the country say, hey, you know, that's what we had.
Thank you. On the 10th anniversary, I know as a Bronxite, I appreciate this, and we will always remember and we will never forget.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure coming into your homes. We'd like to thank our guests for joining us, and especially you, our viewers, for tuning in. You can catch the Recable cast tonight of Open at 10 p.m. on Channel 67. And of course, you can catch a new episode on Friday at 10 a.m. with Rhina Valentin. Thank you, and have a good evening.
When we were younger, we used to think, well, we thought, of course, playing Madison Square Garden, that was it. That was the Mecca. You know, you can, and we played Madison Square Garden in '91, and that was it. But this is a totally different ball game.
Wednesday at Yankee Stadium is a celebration of this music. And for us Bronx guys, it's the ultimate celebration. You have to understand, diehard Yankee fans here, man. So it's a big deal. So I know we're going to have a good time. So we want you to come out and have a good time.